Well, once again, welcome back. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Captain Boat Builder. Again, we're working on the Sassafras 12, a lap straight kayak from Chesapeake Lightcraft. I wanted to show you now the progress that I've made. We're getting to the point where it's actually starting to look like a boat, and it's getting to be fun. I've sanded all of the puzzle joints that connect the two large planks. And at this stage of the construction, you can see that I have installed in the hull two of the temporary bulkheads. These two things are temporary. They're only to hold the boat together as you progress with the planking. What you see down here at the far end, this is a permanent bulkhead, and there's another one identical to it at the other end of the boat. The stitching part has gone fairly well. I'd just like to make a couple of suggestions. If you look in the bottom of the boat, you can see that the two number 1 panels, which are right here and right here, they're almost flat. They're not quite flat. So my suggestion would be that when you stitch them together like a book and open them up, and you put them on the sawhorses or you put them on your floor, use some kind of a weight or a heavy box or something to hold them open. For some reason, they want to sort of close. And if they're almost flat, it's much easier to put on the extra planks. And you can see here in this temporary bulkhead, you can see that the bottom of this is not quite flat, but almost. So using the weights to keep these things flat helps. Another thing I discovered sort of by accident that makes this much easier is as you're working with these planks, because they're fairly long and thin and very flexible, they bend a lot. It's much easier to start, as you start stitching them together, is to start right here and make this connection to the temporary bulkhead here and also at the other end. And then from there, start working toward the bow or working back toward the center. This helps stabilize the planks while you're working on them. Another little tip that I discovered by accident that may help you is when you use these pieces of wire, if you shape the wire just like this, where the top is almost flat, about the width of your index finger, and you notice that one side is a little bit longer than the other side. That helps a lot when you're poking these things through the pre-cut holes, and then when they come out the other side and you spin them around to tighten them up, as you can see like this one right here, it makes it a lot easier to get them through the holes and get them aligned. So this is what the hull looks like at this point. The only thing that's left is to put on the number 5 planks, and these are the planks that have the rails glued to the edges. So we'll be continuing with that in just a minute. Here's a good shot of the number 5 plank, which is the top plank. You can see now that the boat is upside down on the sawhorses. The top plank, the number 5 plank, is installed, and you can see that the outside rail, which is glued onto the top of the top plank, is clearly visible. So this is what it looks like when the top plank is installed, and now you can see that all of the planking for the boat has been completed. One thing I would like to say about installing these top planks, the instruction manual is pretty good, but this top section requires quite a bit of bending to get it in place. This is probably a good place to have a helper, a good time to have a helper. I found that it went on easier by securing both ends first and then working toward the middle, but this is something that you might want to experiment with. Again, a helper would be a good thing. I did want to show you one thing that I discovered sort of by trial and error, and it has to do with the wires that we use to tie the boat together. And if you look at this one, this is an example of a wire that's been twisted. You can see all the twisting, and it's kind of tight. And here's an example of one that hasn't been twisted yet, and you can see how it's loose. So the question was, how much twisting can you do before this thing actually breaks? And I've broken a few of them. What I found is that when you start with one that's like this, untwisted, you can see how there's quite a bit of slack in the wire here. It's not tight up against the boat. Where this one that has been fully twisted is almost flat across the top, as an indication that it's about as tight as it can go. This is another one that's almost completely flat. You can see all the little coils on the wire here. What I found is that as the wire starts getting tighter, I kept thinking, well, how am I going to know how tight I can make this twisting before the wire actually breaks? And I have broken a few of them. And there are two indicators that you're just about to break the wire. The first one is that this top part of the wire starts to pull almost flat with the surface of the boat. Here's another shot. This is a good one that shows how it gets flat. So that's the first indication that you're sort of getting to the limit of the wire. The second one is that as the wire gets tighter, you can start to hear a very, very slight sound of the wood actually being stressed or even splintering in a tiny way. So when you see that thing starting to get flat and you start hearing a little noise of the wood starting to complain, you're just about done. I also found, and I'm not quite sure why, but for some reason, as you increase the number of twists here and the wire gets tighter and tighter and tighter, as you get closer to the point where you think, this is about it, it's probably pretty close to breaking. If you twist it more slowly, if you slow down the process, I think you can get just a little bit more tension out of it. Also, if you do happen to break the wire, it's fairly easy to pull out the broken pieces and start all over again. One of the things that I did as I started to tighten the hull, I don't know whether you can see it, I have a string hanging down from the ceiling in my basement with a weight down there at the bottom. And what that does is that tries to establish the center line of the boat. I'm lining up the string with the keel seam in the middle and the bow. And this is to eliminate, or to try to eliminate, as much twist as possible. If you get the hull slightly crooked, you'll be able to see it clearly with this string. Also, you'll notice that I have a level on the boat, and I've adjusted the boat with some shims on the sawhorses to make sure that it is level from side to side. And I think what I've got is a boat that's pretty true. The lines of the planks look pretty good. So that's about it for today. I'll be continuing the tightening. In the future, I'll be turning the boat over and I'll start some of the filleting inside the boat, and then we move on to the gluing. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that some of my little suggestions have been helpful. Again, this is Captain Boat Builder saying so long for today, and thanks for watching.